Growing up, I spent many of my weekday dinners over at my grandma's when my parents were still at work. One of my favorite dishes she cooked was Shou Rou. These past few years, whenever I'm back at home, she'll always have this dish ready for me when I visit her. Sticky, succulent, soy sauce braised pork that glistens over a bed of rice. Nothing compares to Shou Rou. I decided that it was time I learned how to cook Shou Rou like my grandma does. So I first headed to Marina, a local Asian grocery store, for the piece of pork my grandma was going to cook. She had all the other ingredients ready. So besides the pork, my grandma's recipe calls for some braising spices, which include ginger, green onions, bay leaves, cinnamon, red hot chili peppers, and anise seeds. 2 kinds of soy sauce.
为啥有2种酱油啊？
一个红酱油，一个白酱油呀。那一头是讲鲜味道、咸味道，一个是卡了的。
Lots of sugar.
这个是中国的一个13香。
Chinese 13 spice powder. Canola oil, and either beer or some Chinese cooking wine.
但是本来上海红烧肉是用蹄膀来烧的，为啥侬就是用个脚爪来烧啊？
脚爪啊，因为侬欢喜吃脚爪呀。
我欢喜是因为爸爸欢喜呀。
是呀，这脚爪是一个好东西呀，胶原蛋白特别多。那么我呢，要做一桩事体。
My grandma doesn't cook for herself. She cooks for others. Shou Rou is definitely not her favorite food, and it's further shown by her cooking a part of the pig that she doesn't typically like to eat. I can't think of a better way my grandma expresses her love than through her food.
我也要好了，将来自己吃自家好烧。对，奶奶不会再蒸了，奶奶我看不来。我瞎说了，侬烧不侬做就对。放辣椒，我是最近刚，就是最近多少在这里就是湖南人。
After adding all the ingredients into the pot besides the sugar, we let it simmer in the pressure cooker for around 30 minutes. In the meantime, my grandma fixed my mask, and we went on a stroll around her neighborhood.
咱妈妈这个烧菜的方法是上海乡下人们，我不晓得咋个能可以吧？
外婆的，
外婆是上海乡下人就是烧。
啊，但是侬烧的是啥？
我搿是想有点本地的这个经验。是汤牛了，咱外婆烧的汤不牛了，伊有肉清甜老汤留辣海个呀，伊勿会得烧了老久。
We let it simmer for another 10 minutes with the sugar in it, and her Shou Rou was finally done.
开心，该开心啊！哎呀，下趟侬想吃自家烧便当了，对伐？只要勿是现在想吃好拿烧的，下趟自家存来屋里了，想吃，哎呀，马上就吃就好烧。
After Grandma showed me her recipe, I attempted to cook it on my own. A traditional Shou Rou uses the pork belly, so I decided to work with that, but mainly because the foreleg of the pig seemed too difficult for me to work with at first. And instead of beer, I used Chinese cooking wine. I first boiled the pork so it would cook faster when I braised it. I didn't have a pressure cooker like Grandma. The sauce my grandma makes often comes out much thicker than how my grandma on my mom's side makes it, so I thought I'd explore a bit more about how this dish came to popularity and why there are so many variations. Shou Rou directly translates to red braised pork. It's fatty pork cooked in a sweet red soy sauce-based braising liquid and is usually served almost like a gravy over rice. This dish originated from the Hunan province. Hunan dishes are often known for its ganla, or purely hot, flavor, as opposed to Sichuan cuisine, which is mala, or numbing spice flavor. Chili peppers and pork are common ingredients in Hunan cuisine. The famous communist leader Mao Zedong grew up in the Hunan province, and it was said that Shou Rou was his favorite dish. Some say it was the brain food which provided him the wits to defeat his enemies. I guess it worked out pretty well for him. Since then, this dish has spread to other regions, and Shanghai famously adopts it into their more refined Jiangsu province cuisine. After letting it braise in the pot for about an hour and a half, I tasted it, and I put the sugar in and let it cook down for another hour. A warm, familiar taste of my grandma's spices enveloped me. The pork was sticky, sweet, and tender, like how she made it. She wasn't there that day to try it, but I saved some for her that weekend. I hope I did her justice.
你知道他们？
好像正好你的小麒麟吃到了，
耶！
这个大笨老爸爸吃吧。
呀，不是，侬吃个我也一个等于。
Recently, my grandma has been talking a lot about aging. I think it's also because the holiday Qimmingjie, otherwise known as the Tomb Sweeping Festival, was approaching, and we had just visited our passed away loved ones. I can't think of a better way to spend my time with my grandma than learning valuable and sometimes scrumptious lessons and stories from her.